Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and I'm here today with the first of 3 videos that I'm planning on making about what I want to see changed for Havoc Demon Hunter. So it's no surprise that Havoc's been around in this current state for actually a year now. It has been over a year since the last time Havoc's class or spec tree was changed, barring slight numerical tuning or a bug fix. So the last time we actually got new things on our tree was November 7th, 2023. So I've had some people ask me recently what my wish list would be, right? Like what I want to see change, what are some things I like, don't like, stuff like that with the tree. And I felt like it's a good idea and a good time to just sit down and put it all into videos and just like put it out there. I've done this before in the past. It's been a while, and honestly, some answers are spread out over different videos. So in today's video, we're going to do the class tree. I'm splitting them up because I don't want this to be like a 40-minute video of me just talking. So today's going to be the class tree. Next time, we're going to do the spec tree, and then we're going to do the hero talent trees for Eldrachi and Felskard. So with that, let's go into the video. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get to it. All right, so like I said, we are here today with just the class tree. I felt like when I was planning these videos, that it would be better to have a few shorter videos rather than one like 40-50 minute video of me just talking for that long. Easier for me to make, better for you guys to view. So this is the class tree one. I'll probably have like a supercut or something of all 3 once I'm done everything. But until then, we'll have them split out. Maybe for Christmas I'll release it. I don't know, we'll figure it out. So today, class tree. The class tree is obviously shared between Havoc and Vengeance. And unlike every other class tree in the game, where you have 3 or 4 if you're a druid specs shared in it, Havoc only has 2, Havoc and Vengeance. Or I guess Demon Hunter only has 2. So the tree is pretty weird. There's a pretty clear split, so to speak, between like Havoc and Vengeance. And I don't think it works very well. I think it's a very outdated class tree. It hasn't really been touched, even when we got that rework, which was not really a rework. It was so small and so tiny in scope back in 2023 November. It didn't really get many changes. There's a lot of problems with this tree. I have 5 I've written down. There's a lot more. And on this kind of video, I want to talk more broad general concept. I'm not really going to dig too deep into like nodes and be like, oh, I want this node or I want this node or something like that. That's not really my plan here. More so like broad sweeping kind of design choice and stuff like that. And the first one of that is going to be the bottom of the tree here. So the bottom of this tree starts in this gate. See here, spend 1 more point. This one says spend 13 points. The bottom of the tree are these there's 3 rows of talents, and there are way too many throughput nodes in this tree, right? So if we count all the nodes here that provide some form of DPS benefit, we have 1 in the mastery, we have 1 in collective anguish, so that's 2. 3 here in Rush of Chaos, 4 counting the double thing, right? 5 here in the hunt, or we'll just count them for 1 node, I guess. So 1, 2, 3, 4 in the hunt, 5 with soul sigils, which is needed for Eldrachi, less so for Felskard, but it is still something. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 6 in Flames of Fury and 7 in Sigil of Spite, and that goes up to 9 if you count the point totals, right? Because you should, right? So 7, 8, and 6, 7, 8, 9. So there's a lot of throughput nodes in this tree. And the other issue with that is that there's also utility and quality of life nodes. And I'm not even counting Erratic Felheart as a throughput node, even though it could be. This is more like a quality of life kind of utility thing, but it's also just pathing down to Collective Anguish. We also have really powerful defensives locked in the bottom here in Demon Muzzle, which is really strong. Not really that good right now because of how Felskard works with the Sigil of Flame because of Student of Suffering, but still pretty powerful overall if you end up having to ever use it. And then we have Darkness. Darkness here, 5-minute cooldown, really horrible at 5 minutes, and then the node that improves it, all locked in the bottom of the tree here. So it's a weird mixture of 9 throughput nodes, which is a crazy amount of throughput nodes, where we basically have to spend every available point down here on those that we can, and then like 2 to 3 defensive nodes and like some quality of life stuff, right? Like you have like Quicken Sigils, which is like quality of life stuff. You have Erratic Felheart, which is kind of like that. And this doesn't work. So there's a few different ways you can deal with these nodes. I'm going to zoom back out here. I don't know why I'm just zoomed in. So look at DK here. DK only has 2 different throughput nodes. One of them is a 2-pointer. But in the bottom of the tree here, which starts right here, so they have these 3 rows. Generally, the bottom 3 rows are this section. They have these 3 rows. And of these, only 2 of these actually give you DPS benefit. You have Rune Mastery, in which consuming a rune gives you 3% extra strength, and then Abomination Limb, which is more damage. I believe this also is sort of DPS, right? You have an extra Death and Decay charge, that's like AoE damage. But everything else is either throughput or utility, right? Throughput, sorry, not throughput, survivability. That's not that. This is like utility. This is sort of survivability, utility. This is like a half utility, half survivability. So a lot of the tree down here is very few throughput nodes, and then you can really tailor your loadout to what you want to do. A lot of other really good class trees, spec trees are like that. Devastation Evoker has 0 throughput nodes in single target. You do have Leaping Flames and Protracted Talons, which are AoE benefits. I guess this is a throughput node for healers. But other than these two not really functioning in single target, there's no other throughput nodes here. Everything else is just purely utility. And again, the bottom 3 rows here. Tons of different options for utility to tailor and take what you want. There is throughput, of course, in terms of survivability, but that isn't really, that big of a deal. There's just a ton of different ways. You have 11 points down here, or even the rest of your tree, to figure out what you want. BM hunters and hunters in general have, again, 2 nodes, 2 points. They have serrated tips, and they have unnatural causes, and everything else in the bottom 3 rows here is just pure utility with some survivability stuff, right? You can self-dispel yourself. You have some movement speed stuff, like the trap thing. You have like reducing S with the cheetah and turtle. You have like camouflage. You can take a knock up or a knockback. So lots of utility there, and same with Windwalker. Windwalker has 3 nodes. Now they do have 5 points here, 6 if you count Fatal Touch. So Windwalker has a bit more of them, but you have 4% physical damage done, 4% magical damage done, and then Zwen, and then everything else is basically just utility. Fatal Touch, whenever you use Touch of Death, gives you 5% more damage, but I don't really know if they're taking that in all cases. I didn't really look into that. So the other way you can do it, besides having very few throughput nodes, is have them all be throughput nodes, right? Fury Warrior and Warriors, every single node in the bottom points of their tree, besides this one, give you survivability, give you throughput. All these rows are throughput, which is the other way to work it. So Havoc has a weird mix where basically the whole tree is throughput, but they're not like individually, like it's not like 4%. It's like heavy, like really impactful abilities down here, and then a mixture of like quality of life and throughput nodes, like survivability throughput nodes that we just kind of don't really get to take, which is an issue, right? Like Darkness is locked down here as well. So you kind of just have to take all the throughput, and then you're left with very few points afterwards to figure it out, what you want to do after. So moving on to the second thing here, it's Darkness. Darkness is Havoc's basically only form of utility. You can kind of count Sigil of Misery or Chaos Nova as like CC utility. And then we do have a Dispel, but it's not like the best Dispel. And Sigil of Misery is pretty bad. The stun's quite good. It's actually a pretty short cooldown stun. And then we have Fell Eruption, which is a single target stun that's not on this thing here. But compare that to like Sigil of Silence, it's like nothing. So Darkness is really our only form of group utility aside from the DPS buff we bring, which did get nerfed, but still very strong. And it is locked down here. And not only is it locked down here, you require 2 bottom gate points, which are very, very valuable as we established, because there are 9 points you can put into throughput down here. 9 out of a total of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 9 out of 15, so more than half of the tree down here is just pure throughput nodes. And Darkness has to take up one of them. So Darkness is a very powerful CD in raids, less so in Mythic Plus, but in raids, there's ticking damage or something like that. You just drop this and you're going to save a lot of health that way. But it got nerfed. It is a 5-minute cooldown. Back in the day, it was 3 minutes baseline. To get it 3 minutes, you have to take another point down here, reduces the cooldown of Darkness by 2 minutes, or the very bad Long Night, which is, I guess, the idea if you're only using 1 Darkness in a fight, you can make it better. The downside of that is that you're never taking this because it's, again, a DPS loss to take. So Darkness, Havoc's only group utility we can take, is locked down in the bottom of this tree here. And that is stupid. Now, not only is it bad by itself, it's a 5-minute cooldown on a very short, like it's only on an area, right? Very small area. It's only a 15% chance in raid, 30% in dungeons. If you look at something like AMZ, AMZ here is in the second gate. And the second gate is pretty much one of the most open gates normally. On pretty much every trade I've looked at. Second or first gates generally where you have a lot of your points. Makes sense. AMZ here, 2-minute cooldown, gives you a ton of damage reduction for the members inside of it. Obviously there's an absorb cap on it, but it's still very powerful. And not only is it 2 minutes, it is a second gate node, so it's not competing with anything in the bottom gate, and you have a lot more freedom to take it because you have more points available. Likewise, Assimilation is the node that buffs it. It not only does it increase the amount absorbed, so it can take more damage to your braid before it goes away, also reduces the cooldown. So it improves it and reduces its cooldown. Havoc can only take one of those 2 things. Fury Warriors is the other great example where they have Rallying Cry. Now, there are no nodes to buff Rallying Cry. I think there used to be one, but it's gone now. But it is smack dab in the middle of your tree. It is very easy to take. There are two really strong throughput nodes outside of it. That's like, you kind of always want to pass through this anyways. And it's just really strong. 3 minutes, sure. So it's the same as Havoc's cooldown if you take 2 bottom gate nodes into it. And just gives everyone in your raid 10% temporary and maximum HP, which is pretty nice. So not only, there's no bubble restriction to this, it just affects everybody no matter where you are, which is really, really good. And also only takes 1 node for a 3-minute cooldown, and it's a node in the second part of your tree. So Darkness just gets absolutely shafted. Not only is it down here in the bottom of the tree where it's fighting for throughput, which we've talked about, you either need to have very few throughput in the bottom or have it be all throughput. You can't have some weird mixture like Havoc has right here. It's fighting for throughput. It's a bad CD in itself. We have to put multiple points in it to have it work. So that's a no-go. That's just a horrible thing with this tree. All right, so my next part here is going to be talking about how locked we are in the tree. So because Havoc has throughput spread so far throughout the tree, we have throughput we basically need to take, and we also have to path down to both this side and this side to take everything down here. The points we have in this tree are very locked. So we're going to walk through here, right? This we basically need to take for additional charges Fel Rush with meta. This is a throughput increase, we take it. This is a throughput increase, we take it, and it also just kind of locks pathing. Then come over here. This is just survivability increase, we take it. Survivability increase, we take it. And we're left with a few points down here to spend as we wish. Now, Proof Disrupt is kind of stupid not to take, it's just great quality of life. Same with Consuming Magic, you kind of need to take it to path down further in the tree. You could take Eldrazi Design, increase your chance to parry by 3%. That is quite literally useless for Havoc. So at this point, we have 7 points. So we need 1 more to go down here, and now we have a choice. You can take Vengeful Bonds, which is useless in PvE. You can take Chaos Nova, which is pretty good, but not very good in any form of like raid encounter. Like, yeah, it has some use, but it's very situational. Imprison, which is situational, or Sigil of Misery, which is situational. So we're going to take Chaos Nova because it's the best. Come down here. Throughput, we have to take it. Throughput, we have to take it. Throughput, basically you have to take it. 2 charges, but also gives you down to Pursuit. Massive increase your movement speed, almost essential. Movement speed is one of those crazy things. This is a lot of movement speed you get from this because Mastery is so good for us. Where it's going to save your life a ton of times. Havoc is just really quick. Got to take that. Leech, this is basically our only defensive. Got to take that. Darkness, you got to take. Demonic, you have to take. 5% magic damage reduction, you kind of have to take. And now we are here, and we need to get Will of the Eldari. So the choices here are, we can put 2 points into Infernal Armor, even though it is hot garbage. It does literally nothing. No one's attacking you, and armor. Havoc has no armor to begin with. We have a very low armor class, so this doesn't really do much, but it does let us get 5% maximum HP, and I have 1 point somewhere else, and the only real option here is Felfire Haste, giving you more movement speed. Now, if you do, for some reason, need either Imprison or Sigil of Misery, you want to drop both points here, pick up a talent that does quite literally nothing. Lost in Darkness does nothing in PvE. I think it barely does anything in PvP. Take this, and then you have another point to put somewhere else, like Sigil of Misery, for instance. Not to mention, Precise Sigils, pretty garbage. So we're here, and we've gotten basically 2 choices for where we're spending our points, right? We had the choice between Nova, Imprison, or Sigil of Misery. Then we had the choice of dropping 2 Infernal Armor, picking up this and grabbing something else, or Felfire Haste. Felfire Haste, again, still very good. You like some movement speed stuff, so good quality of life. So we're not taking Disrupting Fury or Swallowed Anger, which again, these used to just be baseline parts of Consume Magic and Improve Disrupt, which is a theme you'll see throughout this tree, which is pretty garbage there. Live by the Glaive, honestly, not great for Havoc, but there are times where you're parried. And now we're down here. And down here, you basically have to take 2 of these capstones. Now, you're always going to come down and take the Hunt and Rush of Chaos. Hunt's just a powerful 1-node option because we always want to reduce Metamorphosis to a 2-minute cooldown. In Eldrazi, you're always taking this. In Felskard, I guess you could drop it, but there's not really a point to do that because it's just really powerful for what it does. The choice is, do we take Darkness or do we take Soul Sigils? In Eldrazi, you take Soul Sigils. In everything else, you take Darkness because it's just like sort of useful. It's a slight loss for Felskard builds. Take these, take that, and then we have a choice between Sigil of Spite and Cloud of Anguish. You just take whichever sim is better for your build. Come down, grab it, kind of have to, and then this is also DPS increase, so we take that. So we've had a grand choice of roughly 2 choices for our nodes. There's no utility we can choose. There's nothing else. We're very locked into this tree. This is the general form of the tree you will see in almost every single scenario. The only other changes you'll see is maybe this for this and this for this if you're in another hero talent tree. And then, of course, you can drop one of these for Darkness. But that's it. Like, there's not much else that's really changing. You can take one of Imprison or Sigil of Misery by dropping this 2-point node for this. So it's kind of crazy. We're very locked in. There's not a lot of choice. So the other thing that comes with this, and I kind of touched on this in the last one, is that even if we had more choices, I don't know if you guys saw, but it's very full. So I'll just load a build. Shout out Wowhead and Shad. We'll just load this. There's not really a ton of other choices, even if we had more spare points to take, right? There's not like interesting utility options or interesting like survivability options or interesting like niche case utility or group utility or anything like that. It's like, okay, we can make our sigils go to our target's location, which is just solved with a macro, where you can use the mouse macro. We can grab Demon Muzzle, which is actually really good, but takes 2 nodes at the bottom of the tree here, which generally isn't really worth it. Fellfire Haste, which is actually pretty good, and I would honestly take this over Live by the Glaive in single target, personally. I think this isn't like super valuable. Like, yeah, it's more Fury if you're parried, but just stand behind the boss, yada yada. So it'll depend on like what raid fight you're taking. So I guess that's actually a real choice. Basically never taking Swallowed Anger or Disrupting Fury, just not worth the node, and these used to just be baseline consume magic stuff. This is a boring passive you'll never take. This has some weird utility with Eldrachi because the fragments are DPS, but I think using your stun for DPS is kind of weird. This just makes a pretty bad CC option shorter. So like, even if we had more points, there's like nothing on the tree I'd like to take to use those points, right? There's nowhere here where it's like, oh, you know, this could be interesting in this fight, like, or this could be interesting here, or oh, if I need to do this, then this could be interesting, or there's a choice here where I'd be good at this or good at that. There's nothing there. There's no choice in the tree. Not only are you locked in, if you weren't locked in, it's all just a bunch of boring passives that don't really do anything. Really taking Lost in Darkness, which does literally nothing, just to pass down. So really just needs a complete overhaul. More things have to be added. You could add some defensive stuff, add some stuff more related to sigils, give a Sigil of Silence back, maybe that'd be fun. More utility, more quality of life stuff. There's just nothing in this tree that makes me want to actually like do it. Like Throglaive hits an additional target, so boring. This is actually a cool choice. I actually like this one, but like, you know, like it's just rough out here. Like increased critical strike chance simulation aura, sure, this is pretty mid. Like there's just so much stuff in here that it's just not exciting to take, and could just be like passives or baked into other abilities. So even if we had points, we're nowhere really to put them. So the final thing is I want to talk about 2-point nodes. Now, most trees do have some form of 2-point node. They have 1 to 3 2-point nodes in order to lock out capstones. You can't take all the capstones at once, which is fairly fair. I understand why they do that. A lot of the really good trees have 0 of them. I think most specs have 0 to 2 2-point nodes in them. Priest has 6, which is crazy. We have 5. 5 is very high. And that's another thing, right? It's like you're using all your points, but you're spending literally 10 of your points. So 10 out of 31, you're spending a third of your points in just the 2-point nodes, which feels horrible, right? You cannot really building a full build. Like, what would really change if these were 1 points? Nothing would change. We'd be able to take a few more cool things. We could also take Misery. Maybe you could actually consider taking one of these Disrupting Furies, Swallowed Angers. Maybe you consider taking the parry stuff. This stuff down here, I kind of get it. No, I don't like it. I wish there were just more options down here to path into, and that it would just be like 2-point nodes. You can take both Sigil Spite and Collective Anguish at once kind of thing. But I digress, right? Like there's just a lot of 2-point nodes, which is something we'll talk about again when we cover the spec tree, where a lot of other classes don't have many. Look at Blood Death Knight here, there's 2. And they're only really there, so you can't take a ton of these really powerful capstones. But even then, you can path around them by going through the middle, though it's just locking out these 2 on the edges, which is pretty good design. Fury Warrior has 2-point nodes here, so you can't take all of the throughput, which makes sense because it's the throughput stuff. Devastation Evoker has 2 here and like 2 here, so you can't just take like everything. This one's fine because it's like the exact same as just going around here. These 2 can sort of be passed around. So Devastation Evoker, I think, is also on a pretty even scale with us. They have 2-point nodes that kind of suck. Hunters have 2 right here and here, but they are throughput. So generally they feel pretty fine to take. And again, you can path around them if you'd like, coming down through this or something, going down through this. So it's not like you have to take them, but again, they're throughput, so you want to. And then like monks, something like that, they also only have 2, locking out these side ones here. But again, they are throughput, so you don't feel bad taking them. A lot of our 2-point nodes, pretty useless. This literally does nothing. This is Leech, which is nice, but again, I don't think it needs to be 2. This does basically nothing, and this is very minor throughput, right? Like some specs are getting 4% damage gains for their 2-point nodes. We are getting Sigil of Flame deals 70% increased damage and gives you 1 more Fury, 2 more Fury per target hit. Whoa! Or we're getting 30%, 20% less Fell Rush cooldown. Woo! or we're literally getting nothing. Woo! So the 2-point nodes in Havoc's tree are literally just there to soak up node points because there's nothing else in the tree. These two don't really exist for pathing reasons at all. I guess to lock out demonic and make it more expensive, but you're always taking demonic and there's no way around it, right? Like you just have to do this. Same with coming down here to these 2-point nodes, you just have to take them to get these bottom things. So there's a lack of choice. You have to path through the 2-point nodes, and 2-point nodes just aren't very impactful, and it feels horrible in terms of the class tree there. So those are kind of my thoughts, like design wise, on the class tree. Now, of course, there's a ton of stuff they could add to make this better. Not really what I want to cover in this video because I'm not a class designer. I don't want to start cooking up random crazy overpowered talents. It'd be fun, but it's not the point of this video, right? It's problems that I think exist that I would like to see changed. I did talk about some things that, like, you know, could see improvements there we compared to other specs. So there are stuff out there that's better, right? A lot of specs have great class trees with a ton of utility, pretty easy to get throughput nodes, a lot of different survivability options, and really like a feeling of being able to tailor your spec or class to the encounter you're fading, to the dungeon you're facing, or even to like a specific PvP matchup. Havoc and Vengeance don't really have that. You have one really cookie cutter tree where you're only really changing 1 to 2 talent points depending on if you're playing Aldrocti Reaver or not. A lot of the nodes literally do nothing. A lot of the nodes are just like old baseline passives that used to be part of other abilities that they ripped out and made you spend a talent on. There's a lot of 2-point nodes you cannot path around to get to really powerful things that just lock us out from that. And then a lot of them just don't do anything either, the 2-point nodes. So all in all, I think the class tree is actually pretty grim, more so than the spec trees are, but the spec tree is what people interact with more so than the class tree. So a lot of people don't see the problems as big as they are, but this class tree is horrendous. Most of their specs, especially all the ones that have been reworked recently, have much better ones. Havoc's is in a pretty dire state. So that's it for the first video of this series. Next one, we'll be covering spec tree stuff, and we'll do a hero talent tree one at the end. Don't know when those will be out, probably every week or so till we're done. Hope you guys enjoyed. Like, comment, subscribe. I think this ran a little late, but whatever, this is why I'm splitting them up. And yeah, so let me know what your thoughts are, what you want to see, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you to Zooligan, rpalms46, Fear Redefined, Justin Penny, Callum Price, Gabrielle Correa, Magicman 133, Falafador and Dark Terror, Sky Elk, and Brad Wisniak. Thank you all so much for supporting the channel. If you want to support the channel a little bit, consider becoming a channel member down below. And just thanks for watching the videos, everybody. Even if you don't become a channel member, you're still supporting me. So thanks, everybody. See you guys next time. Peace.